Hey everybody, welcome to episode 96 of Tactical Crouch. We're 5 episodes away from 100. We got to figure out what we're going to do for that episode, by the way.
I'll probably drink. I don't know.
You guys don't do that for 96?
I'm trying to get a little swifty.
I do that for all the even episodes as well as all of the odd episodes.
See.
There we go.
Yeah. Anyways, hey, welcome to Tactical Crouch. I'm KickedTripod, joined, of course, by Yiska and Volamel. We've got a ton to talk about before we do very quick housekeeping things. First, like the show, follow it on Twitter, tactical_crouch. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. Great way to support the show right now. But we actually have a brief ask of any listeners or viewers who hear this. We're really close to Twitch partnership, and we're trying really hard to get there because it gets us a little bit better revenue split so that your subs go farther to help the show. It also opens up a ton of more emotes and stuff like that. So we're really close to partnership. We're just a little bit under on concurrent viewers. We need 75 concurrent viewers. We are at like 60 right now. So we're so close. So if you are ever able to come watch the show live on Monday and Wednesday at noon Pacific at twitch.tv/KickedTripod, please come do. Otherwise, just thank you for listening to the show. We really appreciate the heck out of you. Speaking of appreciation, you know who I appreciate?
Who?
Our patron producers.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Big thanks to our patron producers. We added a new one this week, so it's Battlecrab Pin, Lolshin, Charlie L, Audio Compass, Porkchop, Sammy, Kasha67, Coochie Kopi, Salsa Boy 91, Shara, Picasso, Neftali, and Your Misery. Thank you so much for your support of the show. If you like the show, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. Great way to support. All right, let's talk about the news. Joe, Yiska, big breaking news yesterday. So much so that we're not going to wait until the preview episode to talk about it. We need to talk about it today, and that's May Madness. Madness is coming to the Overwatch League. Here's the rundown. I'll give you the rundown and the deets, and we'll discuss it. So during the first 3 weeks of May, all 20 teams will play in qualifier matches, 3 for NA and 4 in Asia, to determine seeding in 2 regional tournaments that will end up happening on May 22nd through the 24th. There's $225,000 in prize pools each for each region, so $450,000 in total. $40,000 goes to the tournament champions, $20,000 goes for second place, $5,000 for third and fourth, and on top of that, for every match win, the team will also bank $5,000. Tournament rules are kind of similar to the mid-season tournament that we were going to have. Hero pools have been suspended, so there's no hero pools during this time. It's a first to 3 with a grand finals will be first to 4. And then, so best of 5, best of 7, I guess, is the same way of putting that. Higher seeded teams will pick the first map. And that's kind of the highlights. We're going to talk more about the schedules, obviously, when we do the preview episodes. But we do want to talk a little bit about the impact that this does have on the league. Joe, this is a pretty big, and we've discussed this, and you went on Twitter last night. This is a pretty big deviation for the Overwatch League, specifically when it comes to changing the format. The Overwatch League has changed. We've added in hero pools. We've added in last minute. We've added in roll lock, mid-season, changes like that. But we've never actually changed the format of the tournament itself, as far as I can remember. I'm trying to think if there was something really on in early season 1 that changed early.
I think early in season 1 they changed like the how the maps were going to be played out and what order they were going to play out, just to avoid tied matches. But other than that, like nothing this drastic that was changed. And I think I'd argue that in a way, it definitely changed, but the midseason tournament was going to kind of fill this void to begin with. And I think this May Madness tournament, which I hope we kind of like dub this and hopefully Blizzard kind of runs with, because I'm kind of tired of writing Overwatch League's May tournament. It just feels very bland. It feels very dry. This is an exciting change. Let's give it a name. Let's run with it. Let's brand it and, you know, enjoy that this is coming in and shaking things up in a positive way, not in a random table flippy, meta changey kind of bad way. It's here to build narratives. It's here to celebrate the players, to give them a platform to kind of be put up on a pedestal, but with stakes. It's just stage playoffs, but better. What's not to love with that? One of my biggest problems with stage playoffs and stage finals is that they really didn't mean much of anything. It was just cool. It was a competition. They were there. They were fun. Great. We got to figure out who was the best in this little time frame, right?
It was only ever 3 teams, right?
In the stage playoffs?
Yeah, in the stage playoffs, they were always really small.
In stage or really in season 1, they were smaller.
Season 1, and then
they were much bigger. But yeah, they didn't really mean anything. They didn't really have any stake to it. Now, first place gets 3 added wins to the regular season score. Second place gets wins added to their score. Third and fourth place wins get added to their, like, if you place third and fourth, you actually get some sort of like end of season benefit. This is a huge deal for these teams and these players that actually want to participate, instead of like, well, you know, if we don't make stage playoffs, that's okay, because now we have a week to either take off or practice for the next meta. This could not come at a better time for me personally. I think this is a great change, not the last change I wanted, like not the end all be all, this is saved Overwatch kind of change, but I think this is a great piece of news. This is a great a breath of fresh air for the league that is, you know, not doing so hot in terms of viewership, not doing so hot in terms of player health and player burnout. This is a good step forward, let's say.
What do you think, Yiska? I mean, you're kind of the competitive integrity purist, I think. Not that none of it, either Joe or I aren't, but these things.
You're a stick in the mud. You know, you're a stick in the mud. Tell me why this is bad.
You disproportionately compared to Joe and I. How do you feel about this change?
I mean, okay, so from a technical point of view, of course, this has competitive integrity implications. But let's be honest, in the grand scope of this season, like it's like a drop in the ocean of competitive integrity inflictions. Some self-made, but also the majority of it coming with the global pandemic issue. So in that regards, like I don't think I have any issues with that. I feel like for most of, I think 2019, pretty much like through every podcast I took part of, I was promoting exactly this idea that we wanted to have stage playoffs and we wanted to make them more meaningful, and that they should reward it towards season playoffs, and how those high points really help compensate for a league format that I think is absolutely outdated and is also on its ass in traditional sports. So I love it, actually. Like like, of course it could be a better balance between the regions, but that's all we can have. And like I feel like this is the perfect example of just like life giving you lemons and making the best out of it. Because let's be honest, this format would be very, very hard if we were traveling. Are you just going to have two teams come, like two regions come to the same location?
Yeah.
And just like compete there for stage playoffs? That was probably one of the arguments towards getting rid of stage playoffs. That it wasn't feasible. Now that we don't have to travel, that once again becomes possible. And I'm happy that they consider it, and I think this will be a season high point where the most viewership will come from. Yeah, we've seen it work in CDL. We certainly have the empirical evidence of it working in terms of stage playoffs of the last 2 seasons, who regularly had the highest average viewership of the season points in the relative stages. So overall, I'm a huge fan of this format. I also think that it's great that we apparently found some way to make it so that coast to coast can play with each other, allowing for bigger tournament brackets and allowing for more balanced and grand scale hype to take place. Also, let's not forget, there's a theoretical chance for big underdogs in this to really shine and also not inhibited by hero pools.
Yep.
That is actually one of the biggest aspects for me, that they took the hero pools out of that.
Yep.
That's an amazing part. Of course, it's kind of weird that we then have hero pools in ranked, while the players then again can't practice for no hero pools. Okay, well, we wanted the consistency of the system and wanted to keep the integrity of that for some reason. So we got to deal with that, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess technically all the teams will be competing in like the qualifiers, right? So there's not like an argument to say that, that is bizarre. Yeah. Not something I thought of. But to your point, there will probably be seasons saved or teams that squeak into playoffs based on this May tournament or even tournaments because of their placement in this, but not necessarily their performance in hero pools. And I think that it is weird. It is a little strange, but something I'm not necessarily like bothered by, because again, playoffs won't have hero pools enabled either. So that increases the chance that we'll actually have a good playoffs, because we're giving a chance for these teams that, hey, you might not have the manpower, you might not have the resources, you might not be well equipped because of the coaching staff, changes or whatever. This is your chance to kind of figure things out as best you can and perform well to kind of buffer that hero pool weakness, let's say. I think it's good. I will say that the system's not perfect. Obviously, I would have to assume it's because of time constraints, but I would like to see a double elimination tournament instead of a single elimination, especially after the qualifiers. 3 extra wins to your regular season score, that's a pretty big deal. I don't care even. I don't think the players really mind the money all that much. I think, the regular, their contracts are probably equipping them well enough with enough money to get by. I don't think they really are swinging the fence based on the money at this point. It's really about trying to take home a championship and be applauded for something. And 3 added regular season wins that's a big deal. So I want some redundancy to the system to make sure that the best team does indeed, take home the title here and take home those wins. Because again, and I recently wrote about this, like, let's say this was, the season 2 finals and Shock gets upset by Atlanta. Is that what we really want going forward? Again, I mean, like, I guess the Titans probably just take it home, or maybe somebody kind of upsets the world and takes home something, but is that necessarily the best team? I don't know. I don't think so, because we got the double elimination run from Shock, sweeping everybody, even in the grand finals. They take it home. They were easily the best team. I'd like to see some redundancy there, but again, not looking a gift horse in the mouth. I think this is a great move, great change. Beautiful. Love it. Give me more.
So I do need. So there is one thing that's kind of interesting, and that is how they've splitting up the conferences or divisions. 13 in North America are changing 200 or are sharing $225,000, whereas only 7 teams in Asia are sharing $225,000. Joe, is this because Asia teams are better? Yes or no?
We're gonna have to talk about that in particular when it comes to the matches. But probably not. But to your point, I don't know. I don't want to completely jump the gun, but the teams in general put into these divisions, there's a smelly fish in this bunch that seemingly has jumped ship.
The LFZ did it to China in Contenders China, and the Vancouver Titans tuna has hopped into the I don't know, The sea
Vancouver
bass
Titans.
bucket.
Why are you listed under North America?
They're
Look at
coming
me.
back.
Why are you listed in
announced,
North
right?
America?
They're coming back.
Sure, they're coming back. What's going on?
Yeah.
You wanna just you're just coming back now. Oh, but you were under no obligation to move your players to Korea, but apparently you moved your players to Korea, but now you're coming back though.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Whoever doesn't
Some
smell
don't
this.
sit right with me.
I mean, at this point, it's.
I don't know what it is. Couldn't tell you. I just smell it. I smell something.
Yeah.
What do you? There's nothing to infer from that at all.
It's so like, could they be playing from Korea to North America? Possibly. Could they be flying all the players back? I think that's dangerous, unlikely, but I've obviously Seoul's done it. I don't know. I could not speculate. I think it's probably dangerous to speculate at this point on exactly what's happening. I don't know. Flat out. It just smells very bizarre. Maybe it's completely kosher and I'm very off on this, but this is very weird. With all that's going on with the players, with all that's going on with, the weird changes, they're going to Korea, now they're coming back, now they're playing in NA. I don't know. Smells fishy though. Smells very bizarre.
Yeah, it's weird. I think I have a feeling that more information is going to be coming out in the days and weeks to come. I would hope.
I would certainly hope so.
So we're not going to speculate too much, but it is interesting. It is worth noting. I know we're going through this a little bit quick. This is our preview or our recap episode. We want to talk about last week's games, but this was too big a news to not at least mention on this show. And then on Wednesday,
finally positive news.
It's good news.
Celebration.
Good
YouTube
news.
Chat.
It's good
It's
news.
good things.
It's hey, good news.
When there's good news, we'll tell you about it. It's credit where credit's due. I think we're all on. I think we mostly agree with that. Again, won't speak for my co-host, but when there's good news, we'll tell you. This is all good. I love this. Give me more. I'd like another tournament before the season ends. That'd be swell.
I wish they would do it at the end of every month.
Sure.
I wish that this would just be the month thing. You switch up the hero
every
pools.
month seems tough. But
switch up the hero pools and the map pools every month. Do some seeding.
I like where your head's at.
Do the thing.
Yeah.
Go.
Yep.
I think narrow the hero pools a little bit more, so it's not. You don't have the risk of just having dead picks.
Sure.
You do that every month. A ton of fun.
We're getting.
I think you add double elimination to that. You've got an extra weekend. No reason why you can't.
Yep.
But this is something like I don't want this. I love and I hate saying this, but this is something actually that I think we've discussed. We're at episode 96, you guys. And there have probably been a dozen times in those 96 episodes where we've advocated for anything other than 28 games straight of or 40 games straight in season 1 of just straight up inconsequential Overwatch.
Yeah.
And man, like this is really refreshing. Joe, you said it. To your point, it's very similar to the mid-season tournament that we were getting anyway, and in timing and in scope. But
it's bigger in scope actually. Mid-season was only going to be 4 teams.
That's true.
This is huge.
Yeah, that is true actually. Well, it was 4 it was 4 for each, upgrade. Right?
No, I think it was just one tournament. Maybe Yiska or maybe chat can correct me, but I'm pretty sure it was just the 2 leaders in the divisions, and then the next 2 highest teams were just going to play each other at like a homestand. And
they did a playoff
that was
for those 2 spots.
I don't
know. I can't remember.
Again, regardless.
As soon as everything started changing, it became more and more obvious that this wasn't happening, and you just kind of shove it out of your brain. Yeah. Anyways, so this is great. This is fun. We're going to watch it. Let's just do it every month. Let's just do it. 8 months in a row. Have fun. It'll be great.
The harbinger of good things for Overwatch. Now we just need to, tweak the hero pools just a little bit. I'll meet you halfway, chat. I'll meet you halfway, YouTube chat, Twitch chat, whatever. Let's just give the players something healthy to chew on. Let's not completely burn everybody out, because again, it's not going to stop. You just saw more and more people. I think Boston Ilka just dropped. He's out. Cited burnout. This is not healthy. Let's extend the hero pool turnaround, add the tournaments. Everybody's excited. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's got time to practice what they want. You get better matches. It's not going to be 3-0 Overwatch.
Yep.
The thing is, like, I'm happy that people are slowly coming around to this idea. But Jesus Christ, it is so obvious. And it was so obvious 5 minutes after it was released.
Again,
and the strain being too high was very obvious to everyone who talked to professionals last year. And if we had travel and hero pools, it is very obvious that this would have resulted in the same amount. It's also, dude, like, it feels like every week I just keep hearing, like, or we just keep seeing that less and less frequently. Literally, the best players of last year are not playing anymore.
Yep.
Where's Haksal? Where's Sinatra? Where's Fury?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody warrants that. Like, what kind of storylines are you interested in, dude? Like, it's not like that the wholesome people stick around for the longest time, or that you have the investment in. They're just as burn out as anyone else. So, yeah,
I think it's obvious.
But at the same time,
I think this goes back to Overwatch being like a very new esport and kind of like cultivating a new esports audience, because they don't have something to go off of. They just see traditional sports and they go, oh, well, the NFL players, they run into people and they have physical injuries, so they just have to suck it up and deal with it. This isn't the same. There's no practice regulation. This is something that you kind of either have to go out and look and find on your own, or you have to trust us in saying this ain't healthy. You can't do this. This isn't the same.
I definitely think we've rung that bell.
Yes,
a ton on the show. So I'm not going to allow us to indulge any further on that one. Yeah. Let's talk about last week's matches. Let's just do it. We had 10 matches this week, Joe.
Yep.
8 of them were 3-0s this week.
Yep.
Just happenstance, do you think? Or is there what is going on that we have a league where we can have 8 3-0s?
Yeah.
Like imagine watching football and 80% of the games were, 34-7. Right?
That's what happens when you change the ball every match. Today I'm playing with a square ball. Tomorrow we got a circle ball. Next week, a trapezoid. Did I pass geometry class? No. That's what's going to happen when you change the format week by week by week. Good teams are going to, hopefully, the hope is that they just shine because they're good, right? What happens with that is that there's very little competition to put up against them. If you have a clearly stratified team, or this team is in this class and this team's in a lower class, they're really not going to have much of a match. The team with the coaching staff, the team with the resources, the team that's going to be better at throwing the triangle ball through the triangle hoop, they're going to do very, very well. The team that can't, it's going to look pretty bad. It's a very clear result, I would say, of hero pools. The fact that in the past, I think there have been plenty of weeks where we've been very excited to see these two teams duke it out. Who's the better team? It doesn't really happen that way, right? It's always usually the match that nobody's really expecting today or this week. It was, the battle for Texas that was much closer than people expected. I don't think anybody on either side of the fence really thought that was going to go the distance to 5. Yiska will happily tell me that I'm wrong and stupid for saying that, but I don't think most people would say that. And yeah, it's usually never like the big marquee match that we're trying to sell. It's not the Seoul Shanghai. It's not the, the Atlanta Philly games. It's always those weird games that, are teams that are closer that actually have close matches. The good games that we would normally see in pre-hero pool, Overwatch League should be good. Unfortunately now, They're not so good. I can't tell you why. I can point the finger and really call, hero pools to the stand for questioning. I don't know if it's directly tied to hero pools. It feels that way, but maybe that's my bias because I don't like hero pools, but that's the only thing that's changed, right? We would normally see these two teams, duke it out. They should be two pillars of the Overwatch League ecosystem, and they should have absolute heavyweight match slobber knocker matches, right? Like this should have been a good game. Seoul Shanghai should have been fantastic. 3-0. Not even close. Very, very little resistance put up by Seoul. Why is that? I don't know. I can only point to the thing that's changed, and that's hero pools for me.
You're muted.
It's
There
not
you go.
just sorry. It's not just that that it's this week or whatever, but like I think I saw a statistic on Reddit, and it's either almost 50% of the games that are blowouts or over. I'm not sure. Maybe you can get Eric to double check this, but there's just so many blowouts, and
That's true.
even the games that were maybe not supposed to be blowouts, like it definitely does happen that teams. I think it's fair to say also that it happens less frequently now, but still teams get just pounced by hero pools in terms of like having a comp that doesn't work it to the other. There's definitely also teams like, so for instance, Shock saying, okay, a day before, oh yeah, we're playing Sigma Rhine, when they didn't do that before. That works now against certain opponents of their level, right? Because nobody actually really realistically has the level of play to back it up, and mechanics matter a lot. But yeah, it's rough. Like it's
to your point though. To your point with the frequency of 3-0s, week 11 had 9 matches. 5 of those matches were 3-0s. Week 10, not as many 3-0s. Week 9, not as many. It seems to kind of sporadically pop up. It could just be, the styles clashing, not work. It's not, pairing up two teams of equal skill because of COVID and whatnot, but it's very difficult to predict exactly how close games will be. I think I would agree with that. It's very hard to look at two teams who you would imagine should be close, but because again, possibly of hero pools, possibly of practice situations because of COVID, maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. It's tough to see, how close Chengdu Guangzhou Charge should be of last week, right? I think everybody would probably have put that a lot closer than a 3-0, and especially in the way that they did it, right? It's tough to really gauge how good these teams are at the moment. Is that a little bit bias of me, trying to soften the blow of the impending doom of talking about the Pacific Games? Maybe. We'll have to see.
So Eric just jumped into the chat and said 38 of the 80 games this year were 3-0s.
Almost half.
Yeah.
Almost half. That's not good. Nobody wants to see that. I don't want to see that.
I like seeing it when it's a team I'm really passionate about winning, but that's a whole different argument or a conversation about how passionate are we about even our own teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like 30, but again, right? So we're talking about, and be clear, we're there's enough matches here where we're kind of talking in like card game stats terms, where like these professional card game players they play on tenths of percents of margins, right? Where if you're 55-45, you're a really good card player. You're a really good Hearthstone player if you're 55-45, 60-40. This is something where, we're seeing like, yeah, you have some decent amount of 3-0s, almost 50%. When that number jumps 30% in 1 week, that's not like, 80 is kind of close to 50. It's not. And that was the biggest point. And I will also say, and this is a little bit more on the feeling side rather than the like objective side, the 3-0 is like, we've seen a close 3-0.
Yeah.
And we've seen a blowout 3-0. This week felt like there were a lot more blowout 3-0s than we're used to. And we might as well just talk about that first one now. And that would be the Boston Uprising versus the Florida Mayhem. So,
I know.
So the Florida Mayhem versus Boston Uprising, it set an Overwatch League record for the fastest match in the Overwatch League with 24 minutes and 9 seconds of in-game time. The longest map, singular map, not match, map in Overwatch League was 34:17. 10 minutes and some odd seconds longer than the entire playtime of this match.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I stand by what I said in shows previous with Boston. This isn't this isn't good for anybody. This isn't good for Boston. No. It's not good for Mr. Kraft. It's not good for the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Something's got to change.
Yeah.
I don't know if it requires league intervention. I don't know if it requires the team to, wake up. I don't know how you poke the bear in that circumstance without, doing a little bit of snooping. But
I mean, they're making moves, right? Like, like sometimes just when it rains, it pours. It's like this rough. Team is, and
again,
of course, everyone's burning out on it. Of course,
100%. And again, that goes back to hero pools. But this isn't like, oh, I'm picking on Boston. No, Shanghai, same way. Can't have that. Can't have an 0-40 season. Just can't happen.
Yeah.
You have to field some sort of competitive roster, and if you can't, we got problems.
Now, to be fair, there's some of this that is very much in Boston's control. There is also a lot of this though that just like, what are the chances that you're quarantined? You've got a player that you're losing. Signing a new player during quarantine right now is. The fact that they were even able to sign a Halo is, kind of amazing. So I think we can meme across this match a little bit and kind of make fun and poke fun and have jokes about it. Boston, though, even prior to all this, has not been good. And despite what we thought, they're falling even further. To some fault of their own, and then to just really awful circumstances on top of that.
Now, on the flip side of this, I'm not necessarily ready to buy into the whole, increase in Florida stocks. Yes, they beat up on the Paris Eternal, 100%. Like that is a great and fantastic win for them. But to say that this is like your selling point for, Florida stocks being up, like what? Like, are you excited when you just take candy from a baby? Is that really what you're interested in? Is that really why you'd say Florida stocks are up, not beating the Paris Eternal?
Yes, because their stocks were so low that a stomp victory against the Paris Eternal should up their stocks.
100%.
We thought of them as a bottom 5 team. They're not bottom 5 anymore. And I think depending on what kind of meta they play,
more personally, but. Yeah, I would say that there's a great argument to have that, but it's certainly not evidenced by the win over Boston.
No.
Well, no.
That's my point. That's my point. It's not the Boston win that should be getting you excited. It's the Paris win. Why are we excited about beating up on Boston? Everybody should beat up on Boston. They suck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Oh, I mean, it is. I mean, look, 24 minutes and 9 seconds. The longest match in league history. Like you said, 34 minutes and 17 seconds. Maybe I said 30 both times. I don't know. It was actually 24.
Yeah,
9.
24.
Okay, you got it.
24 match, 34 map. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It feels like it's no longer funny to me. Because, Shanghai was super funny in season 1. Because they had
that just got depressing.
All the theoretical options to succeed. They had a full roster. They could have done something, but for some corrupt reason, they couldn't.
Right. And then they tried to do something and it still failed.
I don't think anyone on Boston is a bad actor to the point where I have Schadenfreude towards them not succeeding. It's also the case that, I mean, in essence, like, yes, they also had their undead accident, and it's not that much different from what they had now. But it's like there's like Boston is also a rookie team in some instances. If you enter the Overwatch League that way, it's rough. Like I'm trying to pinpoint why I didn't have that feeling of like, okay, it's enough, guys. Like we get it. They're bad. When Shanghai was in there,
for sure.
But like for Boston, it feels like, okay, we're at a point where it's like we're in a global pandemic. They cannot make moves. I think that is maybe the thing, that there's just way less agency to switch stuff around now.
100% is.
It was, and it's just like, you're stuck there.
Hypothetically, play with me for a second. Like, follow me. Do you really think Boston would be spending buku bucks to really improve this roster, even if there wasn't a global pandemic going on?
I'm not sure about buku bucks, but I think at this point in the season, I think they would probably be willing to spend a little bit more.
Right? They definitely sign more people, especially with what happened and whatnot. But I don't think they'd be really jumping up the rankings. I don't think they'd be battling close with anybody.
There's no way where you can out head coach at this point, or you can out an entire system in like getting rid of everyone's stuck with everyone else.
Yeah,
and that it's just a situation that is not going to change anytime soon, because the season is not even halfway point theoretically, if we assume 28 games. So like at some point, like my compassion just spikes, and I just think, okay, like this is just rough. What can they realistically do? Like they had good
100%. There's really not.
So like when you can't change anything about being beaten up repeatedly, it has just a bad feeling. While for Shanghai, there were definitely things of recourse. Get that charlatan of a head coach out of there.
Totally.
Like get rid of the players that everyone knew were going to suck, and just fill up. And now they are the best team in the Overwatch League. We will talk about it.
Yeah.
But that's the story we want to see, right? Like
Shanghai's doing it.
Yeah, there's no access to these kinds of stories for Boston in the current situation. There's
you
give them infinite money, and like there's very few moves they could make to significantly improve. In the current climate.
I definitely think you could. I mean, it's probably dangerous to travel, right? You can still travel. We've seen that with Seoul. We've seen that with the Vancouver Titans. Like we've seen people travel around the country. So it's not like they couldn't sign NA talent or at least Western talent that doesn't require a visa or already has a visa. So I guess it would have to just be in North America. That is something they could do. They just aren't. And that's what's kind of strange. And 100%, like I have to agree with you that there isn't much they can do. But this has been kind of writing on the walls for at least a season and a half. Like at the start of season 2, they didn't look completely abysmal, but by the end of it, wasn't great.
I would just personally I'd love to have a heart-to-heart with anyone in upper management, be that Huck or Mineral, and be that on air or off air, and just like understand what the problem is. And I think I'm very convinced that I'm 90% sure I would just go, okay, that sucks for you guys. Like like, of course you're not without blame, but it's probably going to be something where it's like, unlucky, dude. Like that's just how it goes sometimes.
It's really easy from the outside to criticize, and it's really easy to minimize or maximize hurdles when you aren't actually navigating them. And again, you said it. There's definitely blame to be put on the players, the coaching staff, the ownership at probably all levels. There's blame to be shared, but there's also just circumstances sometimes. We learned a lot with from the Florida Mayhem about why the end of season 2 was so abysmal. And all of a sudden you go from like, are these really bad coaches and bad players, or is this, something beyond, we were all attributing like the coaches suck, the players suck, and blah, blah, blah. And it turns out there was something entirely different going on. The Uprising, I would say, are one of the more secretive organizations, just in general, as far as putting that stuff out there.
You wanna hear the hot take where I'm not sure I stand on solid ground with that argument? But there is an argument. There's a world where Huck is the only one that responsibly built teams in Overwatch League. And the finances that the other teams ran were never sustainable under our income. And by everyone racing for ridiculous salaries and like all these kinds of large rosters and whatnot, while he was saving a quick buck, now his team probably isn't in the financial hardship that every other team is in. Dude, everything is collapsing, and it isn't just COVID.
We brought that up.
It isn't just COVID.
Yeah.
Like, transfer fees are down. Buyouts are nuts down.
Right.
Erase a zero at like, I'm talking magnitudes lower.
Yeah.
So that is not just COVID. That's an illusion, a bubble that bursted.
That's esports in general, though. That's not just the Overwatch League. So the whole ecosystem has been a rat race.
So
look at what CS players are being paid for a second. Look at what LCS players are being paid. 2.3 million for Huni. Again, names that won't necessarily mean much to anybody, but a lot of money being thrown around. I think this is more of an esports problem than an Overwatch League specific problem.
So I mean, very, very true. I'm also not sure if I necessarily believe that argument yet, right?
I don't think I do either, but
there are indications where it's like, is it feasible for half of the fuel talent, for instance, to make the money that they're doing? And does that do something to the market price? Right. And are there other players that are equally like earning and probably about as good as those guys? Because I don't want to specifically call them out. And does that inflate market prices to the point of infeasibility? And someone who understands the numbers that we're seeing and wants to grow organically is left behind because he's trying to do it right by the numbers and isn't overly investing in a system. I'm not sure if that's true. Like, of course, I have no idea about the numbers and whatnot.
100%.
And maybe, but if you're in that mindset of trying to be economical about it, I can see how the current situation, like, you feel some way about just everything collapsing. And you also know that COVID isn't the only reason for it to be that way.
And we need to take a second and make sure that we differentiate. The success of the team on the field is very different than the success of the team off the field.
Yes. 100%.
And I think at the core of that, that's what Yiska's talking about. Is this is a team that really sucks right now when they're playing.
Both places though. Like, do you think that Boston's doing great in merch sales?
We don't know. I'm
gonna guess not.
But I'm gonna guess probably not in merch sales, but I don't know what they're
just in general. Outside of the game, probably not doing as hot as many other teams that aren't doing as hot.
I think the sponsorship numbers is what I would need to see. I think for season 4 they could be in trouble if they're a bad team trying to seek new sponsorships, but Boston's got some decent people backing the squad at all sorts of different levels, where I would be surprised if Boston wasn't in the top 4 or 5 teams. Like, if you just look at the percent, what would be the right proper way to measure against size, probably some sort of percentage.
So you're looking at like revenue, like in terms of scale, like sure, I guess like if you just have little money out and you make more money, then yeah, your numbers are gonna look good. But I don't think they're like doing good in terms of branding. I don't think they're doing good in terms of content.
I don't think that they're probably and
they're trying more now.
Just the competition off the field. And again, I think most teams are trying, but
sure, and that's something I think that's. We probably shouldn't even be talking about this right now. No. Let's go. Also, let's just okay.
Let me add one caveat, because I can already see how that's being misinterpreted. I'm not saying that the players shouldn't be making that money, by the way, because
the market says
like
so.
being in the Overwatch League and like using up the best years, the most productive years, the most like direction setting years of your life, to go home with like 50K minimum salary is a rough decision when you have no transferable skills after, and very few will actually land esports jobs. So I'm not saying from a fairness point of view these players should be making this. I'm saying the numbers of the league that they were always producing and that was suggested, for instance, in the first Morgan Stanley report, were never realistic to me anyway. And also what was communicated to me after season 1 in terms of like what kind of sponsorship stuff came in.
Okay.
So
all right.
Yeah.
Let's leave it. Let's go on to the next one. I really want to talk about Atlanta versus Philly. Because that was let's be real. We all expect that to be a lot closer. That was the clash of NA, right? That's supposed to be the best that we had. Well, I guess shock.
Or some
right?
of the best. Some of the
best.
best.
Yeah, I guess shock. But those are our top 3 teams in NA. You get Fusion versus Atlanta. You're hoping for some sort of sweet competition, I guess, and you don't get that in this one. Unfortunate 3-0 in favor of the Philadelphia Fusion, who now improved to, I forget, at the time of the game they were 8-1, so they're 9-1, and the Reign were 4-2, so they're 4-3. So Yiska, I mean, did you get to watch this game firsthand?
Yes.
So what were your big takeaways on this one?
It's like it kind of went in the way where I expected it. I don't know why. Okay. I think the vanilla meta of like May McCree and then Sigma Rhine is a meta that doesn't favor the Reign in terms of the individual like strength towards like, yes, May is important, but it's not like mega mechanical gods like Urster. They can make a difference, and Urster regularly makes a difference. I'm not sure if the difference is the same as if he was on something else that he's known for. So that extends to pretty much a lot of the heroes that we're seeing from for Atlanta. So it already seemed to me that they would be trying something unorthodox and bringing the Ashe in, for instance. I didn't know that it was going to be that, but that was very characteristic for me because I thought if they try to mirror the Fusion, yes, Atlanta Reign has very good individual pieces. They don't have that type of thing going for them. And the Philly Fusion were also nuts on a very similar meta in the start of the season, which gave them their initial record. So I thought it made a lot of sense for Atlanta to not play fair in that regard and play ball. Play ball in the sense, like just like handshaking on the meta and no, literally wrecking ball.
Not actually wrecking ball.
Yeah. So with that said, it's an unfortunate position that this also made the game not that competitive after all. And yes, it's like 3-0. The story of that entire game isn't told by a 3-0 because it wasn't a Florida-Boston 3-0, but it's still a 3-0, dude. And at no point did I feel like saying, oh, we have a series on our hands. We really didn't.
No.
We really didn't. So it's rough. And maybe this match would have been better had it caught a more restricted meta, possibly.
Sure.
Joe, how do you feel, man? I mean, we've said this before. The Fusion are probably one of the most versatile teams in the Overwatch League, and they were set up for. We said this long before the season even started. They're definitely showing it here, but I think that we also said similar things about the Atlanta Reign. That they should be set up for relative success and that they should be quite versatile. They're coming in now 4-3, if I have the standings correct, which I believe we do. Yeah, they're 4-3 at this point. Like, what do you think? What do you think's going wrong in Atlanta here?
Maybe this is a hot take. I don't think much is going wrong. I think this is just Philly being very good. I think Atlanta's going to be the consummate professionals that they are, be a playoff team. They're going to be a good team. They're probably not going to win much anything, but they're going to be good. Philly, though, with the money that you spend on that kind of roster and the players that you procure, you should be 3-0ing people like Atlanta. You should be dominating the league. This maybe not should be expected right now, especially with hero pools and the chaos that brings. But I don't know that much is going wrong per se with Atlanta, so much as it's Philly being that good. I think, again, we'll look at this on Wednesday, but Atlanta going into next week and next month, I think there are plenty of matches that, it's very Atlanta favored. You should be winning this. You should be winning that. And then they're going to hit a wall, possibly against a team like Philly, possibly against a team like the Shock. A little bit more fallible, to be fair, but Atlanta is a good team. I just don't know if I'm going to put them with the best teams.
And that's something, too, worth noting. They've got 3 losses. 2 of them come against Fusion, 1 in a Game 5. And
exactly.
The other one was against a hot and not quite figured out Paris Eternal with Exy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, it's not like they're dropping. They haven't dropped any other maps.
Yeah, no upsets.
They literally have not dropped a map in any of their wins. Now it was Toronto, Uprising, Mayhem, Justice, to be fair. So it's not like
all of these games they should win. And they do very well.
They've definitely won the games they should have won. They are losing the matches I would argue that they should lose.
Competitive,
but I would say
it
should have been more competitive. The Paris one,
this week,
I think we can
so.
put an asterisk next to that for many reasons. But this 3-0, I think, to me, was the most surprising in all of Atlanta's finishes at this
For
point.
the record so far, 100%. I mean, looking back at week 10, they go, like you said, 5 games with Philly. That's commendable. If Philly's going to be this titan of the league and you take them to game 5, that's a victory, right? That's good.
It's also, Philly isn't just mechanics, dude. They played some smart stuff. Like the way how they adapted to specific, like I recall, like on, I think it was Hanamura, right? Like where they switched Baptiste and wanted to fight like point B. They wanted to fight into upper corner, like up the stairs, and then like fight that or little doorway, and just like abuse Lantern. What does Philly do? Just brings the fight before they like, to them
throw the Lantern
from ridiculous engagement angles, and just like catches them out that way because they smelled that being a potential win condition for them, and Atlanta was completely taken off guard by that. So, like. Fusion, I mean, I said that the Shanghai Dragons are the best team in the Overwatch League. I'm not mad at anyone claiming that it's Philly instead.
I think you got a 1A, 1B kind of scenario.
You got to see them. Yeah, until you can see them go
see them
directly to head.
CHL.
Like they're so dominant over the teams in their region, especially post hero pools, that there's just I think at that point you're arguing semantics and you're arguing like you're getting coach's eye a little bit, right? Scout's eye on this player versus this player, and you're kind of getting really metagamey really fast.
Here's one thing that we need to say about the series and about a player's career that I think, like, I'd feel bad if we didn't point this out. Talk about a baby late bloomer. Like, Baby Bay has never played better Overwatch than right now. He is legitimately he's legitimately better or playing like mechanically up to the level of Sharp and Edison that we would expect from them.
Yeah.
And he is very likely rightfully, or I mean, I'm not going to make that judgment call, but from the outside, he's very clearly absolutely justified to be the starter for them right now. And we can expect him to also bring intangibles. We know what kind of a character Baby Bay is like in and outside the game. So, like, what a story for someone so seemingly late into their career, because Baby Bay also a player that has been around for a long time, to now come into his own. And while he was almost like a little bit of a mean character of Azaria, still sort of effective and sort of like a maverick in that regard.
Sure.
He's still like,
good way to put it.
Now he isn't just gimmicky doing stuff. He's actually playing proper Overwatch, and he's doing it very well. Like, awesome progression. Very few narratives ever developed in this way of player careers, I think.
I said good things about Baby Bay in the preseasons. season rankings. If you want to go back and listen to my incoherent rantings on, I think we got into a little bit of an argument about it. Because I was like, yeah, I think Baby Bay is gonna be fine, but I think we all said that we didn't think that he would be the starter by any means.
No.
But I think it was just like, how good is he as a backup hit scan, kind of wild card DPS. So yeah, good for him, and I think a great eye from the coaches and scouts for Atlanta. Bringing him in, he's
sticking
playing
them
well,
around,
and he's keeping him in, and. Hey, now we know him and Sephi have a long history together at this point, since the building of Shock at season 1 at least. So, Anyways, all right, let's go to the the Pacific Division though. And Joe,
yeah,
Chengdu,
what up, boy?
Yiska, I'm gonna let you take this one. Grill him, rake him over the grills.
So for those that didn't follow the last episode, right? Joe, of course, predicted the Chengdu Hunters to go 2-0.
I said 1-1.
1-1, sorry, 1-1, yes.
Thank you.
But they would be winning against the NYXL.
Yes.
Now, of course, the Magical Kebab told me that was going to be absolutely ridiculous. So we made a bet, and basically one of us had to change their Discord profile picture for a week. Now, what you might be seeing on your screen right now, which is kind of two-facing Joe, is Chengdu Bob.
Wax on.
Right? So, but I want to stand in solidarity with Joe. And
oh my God.
What a gamer.
Let me see this. Oh, wait. I think I gotta.
For audio listeners, he has a wig and a backwards baseball cap. He looks like he should be working on a tiger ranch somewhere.
Well, aren't we all Chengdu Bob today, Joe? Don't we just love Chinese Overwatch?
We love it.
So let me get into the mindset that I listened to over the weekend of Chengdu Bob, of how Chengdu was a top 5, bordering top 5 team, or like at least upper half team, where they were the second best Asian team for some miraculous reason.
I feel like that's a bit of a colorful way to phrase what I said, but
I mean,
I'll run with it.
Like this is the Chengdu Bob head. Like it's like the awkward head. Like it's just speaking the truth. So this man went from Chengdu is going to clap NYXL to watching Chengdu play against the NYXL, then argue, oh my God, this team is so terrible while we were watching it. And then convincing his villain his villain friend Kenobi of also thinking that Chengdu is garbage now. This is what Chinese Overwatch is like, guys. Like, your brain on Chinese Overwatch is not working out that well, dude. Like, and I just wanted to sort of like get into that zone and just say, of course, Chengdu Hunters are going to win their next 3 matches, even if I think they're playing the NYXL again. Thank you.
Round of applause for,
that's true.
You like the look?
You got it.
Joe Dirt, equipped with the flannel as well. I think that's very apt.
Nice. Yeah.
But no, I don't think the Chengdu Hunters would be beating the NYXL. To my defense, and I'll start the defense with saying, yes, I was very wrong. Very, very incredibly wrong.
Thank you.
I was wrong about Paris Eternal. I'll take that out.
Yeah.
I was wrong about this team.
Yeah.
I will take that out. Right.
Okay.
That said, I still probably,
oh my God,
I would still argue the same way going into this match, right? I would still, like, I'm not going to go back. Oh, I wish I could change it because of crazy reason. I stand by what I said. Chengdu, for whatever reason, has decided to try and become this meta staple. They want to become the guy who perfects the best deck in the game. They're like, you know what? We've been playing this aggro red deck win stuff. Nah, I want to play control decks. That's what I want to play. I've never played a control deck in my life, but I'm going to be a control deck player now. Let's go do that. Guess what happens? You're going to take that control deck and you're going to go into this tournament. You're going to lose. You're going to lose hard against teams that, again,
lose so hard.
maybe we have a bad read on.
Bad read.
Again, in a region, I think we have a bad read on.
Bad read on.
Also, not good team.
Not a good team.
Bad team.
Very bad team.
Very bad team. Good players. Some good players. Jinmu's not bad, right? We like Jinmu.
We like Jinmu.
We like Jinmu. Team,
Yeah.
Bad team.
Bad.
Bad team. Not good.
Okay.
Okay, now what does Yiska have to say about this?
That was my thinking cap that I had to take off.
Oh my god, I don't even know what just happened. I'm gonna be honest.
We just had a surprise special guest. Welcome back, Yiska.
Yeah. It's I zoned in again, and I'll tell you, whatever the Chengdu coaching stuff is smoking, to play not to play Molly, to play 18 instead and try to play it standard, to on map was it Dorado?
Yeah, it was
to
Dorado.
Switch their main support with their flex support for no apparent reason. Vital suddenly playing Anna while Lengsa is playing Lucio. That is some 5-head stuff. Like
this team
Unreal.
just either completely mental boomed, which I'm not even saying, right? Like that's a card on the table that I'm not willing to play. No. This was a bad team this week. Not a good team in 2 matches, especially in a match that they probably should have ran close. The Spark have not looked all that strong, like even within their own region. And to get kind of just like bent, like this is rough. NYXL, okay. I can chalk that up to my own, like, eye test not working, perceiving that Pacific was a little bit stronger than Atlantic, which I don't even know if that's true anymore.
No, what I told you happened. They are now playing a roster because it's much harder than what they used to face. Libero is in, and they're clapping cheeks.
I don't know. I find that very hard to believe. And yes, I agree with what we said about Who Are You and trying to integrate him in within the roster and hero pools, and I get that much. But even past that point, when they weren't playing Who Are You and they added Libero in, they still weren't looking that great.
Yes, but they're still trying out stuff. NYXL speed ran Overwatch League. They finished all the regular season achievements there are. They don't need to win an Overwatch League regular season again. What they need to win in order to catch all the Pokemon is win an Overwatch League.
Yep.
Totally.
So in order to do that, all you need to do is try to get direct qualification place, so you don't have to play through the play-ins.
100%.
And
I agree with you.
The Atlantic Division, that is free, my dude. So what do? You plan long term. You try to build up players that in playoff situations will help you in some regard and are integrated into the system. So of course you play someone like Who Are You. Of course, like you might have, if you pick someone like Who Are You up, you better have a plan how to psychologically deal with whatever he comes with.
I agree.
And you do that by making him part of the entire team. So that's exactly, you make him feel valued in that regard, and you check his ego and just give him enough, but not too much, and make him part of the big machinery that is NYXL. So at the end of the playoff, when it's all coming down, you sit there and say, I have a world-class Genji, I have a very good Pharah, I have also with a heavy carry potential factor that arguably Libero doesn't have to that degree. So you want that wild card to be introduced to the team. Also Doomfist. So I don't know. I felt like That was definitely second gear, maybe not full, like sixth gear NYXL, but they know that they now can't mess around. And that's the immediate turnaround result because of that.
My problem with that narrative, and it's something that, again, this team has drawn up, and I don't know that it's within the team that they're doing this. This is something that the community is perceiving from their actions, because we don't know why. We're trying to come to a conclusion on why they're doing these bizarre things, especially with Who Are You, which, again, a lot of what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But did it make sense last season or the season before that? Because I, again, remember having a lot of the same discussions about this team 2 seasons ago. So when is it that they're done playing the macro game and they actually win something?
Well, they're not anymore, right? Like
when is the buck stop? When are they stopped playing around and we're putting down the sandbags and we actually play the game? Is it now?
Now, yeah.
Or was it last season? Or was it the season before that?
I mean, they did considerably better. They're the third best team in last year, right?
Sure.
Both by regular season and by playoffs.
They've always done well. But why is it every season it's the sandbag? It's the long game. They're going to do better this year. Don't worry, guys. It's now. Now they're going to turn it around.
Because their approach is visibly different, right? Like they're not playing their macro style. They've traded away key players like Meko and have introduced key personality like Nene, even though he's now not part of that. For I think dental health, someone said in chat. I didn't even cross-check that. But they have a complete new head coach in place 100%. With a new coaching team that imprints a new structure onto that. And it's
again, I would agree with that.
Like there's I feel like there's a visible change in the type of Overwatch that this team is playing and the approach they're taking. And if you are in the fortunate position where you don't need top tier performances all the time, but can build up players, you take that position. You play the hand you're given. They are holding aces and they're just like, let's make some money here.
Again, I agree everything with what you're saying up until the point where somehow this season's going to be different and we can measure when and where they're flipping the switch and turning it on.
Okay. Go ahead. Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Explain to me what you would do to make sure or increase the percentage chance of them winning the Overwatch League. What would your strategy? I
agree with that. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. 100%. What you're saying makes sense. But is that actually what they're doing? Because we always assume that's what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
We assumed it in season 1. We assumed it in season 2. Now we're assuming it in season 3.
You weren't wrong though. That's what they were doing, right? Like they were sandbagging. And
I don't know.
Like
I think that it's I don't know exactly what's different. I think that is an argument to be had, and we've kind of talked through it a little bit. I think there's another argument to say that maybe PAC isn't as good as what we assumed they were. Maybe NYXL is actually a good team.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't know, right?
Sure. I don't know.
This is something we'd have to sit and mull over and discuss. I'm not really on either side of the fence, other than I was wrong, and I will gladly take that L. I'm happy to be Joe Dirt. I'm happy to be Chengdu Bob. We will not have any more Chengdu Bobberies in this sacred household anymore, though, because the team has sold their soul. They don't have an identity anymore. They're just some sort of weird team that wants to play the meta deck, and it's bad. It ain't good. And now,
I mean, they did it once now. Let's see.
Sure, they've done it once, but even looking at some of their other games, like they have splashes of that identity where they come out and do some gimmicky stuff, but a lot of it, there's a good amount of like standard, good like compositions that generally are the meta, but
guys,
it's not something I really want to see. I want to see them maintain their style.
I don't like. I feel really awkward dogging on NYXL at all, honestly, because like it's just really hard. Like if you ask anybody within or among Overwatch, like over the first 3 seasons, who's the best franchise? I think if NYXL isn't number 1, they're number 2. There's no way they're any lower than that. And every year you have to set yourself up for success. And I think that they've done that every year. They really have. And I honestly, I can't tell you why they suck in playoffs magically for some reason. And I can't tell you what systematic approach gives them a better chance to not suck in playoffs. That's not an answer I can give you. But I disagree with the fact that, like, this is a team that shouldn't change what they're doing. Sometimes you make the right decisions and you just still end up losing when it matters the most. It sucks.
I mean, there's definitely some error in that theory where it's like, so one thing for me is I don't think there's a world where you consciously play who are you above Liberal on May. So if something in that part of the season like made Liberal not be able to play better or at all or like function in that sense, okay, that's already taken a lot of my arguments like base away, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like just different starters being like mainly also hotbar, where like a lot of like when you talk to season 1 coaches, a lot of people said, okay, we're playing around Jonak. When some coaches I talked to always said that it was Meko that was dictating pace and or like that was the focal point who was the anchor, so to speak. Now, that is probably more talking about the perception of Overwatch that these people have, because some people are very tank line centric, some of them are very flex support centric in their understanding of it. And I mean, the carry of Jonak, of course, was like the marquee thing. But I'm not sure if that works in the same way with another off tank in that position. So I feel like that, like Meko being out there is a big change that changed the character. SBB taking a step or like a secondary position was already the case in season 2. Like certainly, I think Animo stepped up as like a person within that team. I think like at some point you gotta ask, when is that a consistent identity of a team? And also, at what point do you take risks to win the Overwatch League over just like doing well and going deep? Like, the question is, if I give you 60% of making top 4, but only 10% of winning it, or I give you 20% of winning it,
sure,
and only 30% of making top 4, what kind of a deal would you take?
I'm going to take, again, I agree with you. I'm going to take the better deal to give me consistent top tier placings. And if that's what this system provides, and that's what, you know, all of these coaches that they've brought in are aiming to do, is consistent high tier performance, and that's their goal, great. But if your goal is to win and you're repeating the same strategy that season 1 had, season 2 had, and season 3, I don't know if that's necessarily going to win you anything. If that's their goal, I again, I repeat my argument. But if it's not, and it's just to place well and be a good team, then great, you're on track. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I won't speak for everybody. Maybe I'm wrong in saying this is not the NYXL of last year. I still kind of stand by that because of the sample size we have. But
the question also is, can you in the current system be the same team that you were before? Which, sure, of course, is always the elephant in the room with the Hero Pro system. So, like, is that a feasible approach to take? Mm-hmm. But it feels like before they already even knew that this was coming, they already put that in motion, if that premise was to be correct.
I feel like it was, and again, I don't know that I am buying into this, but I think there's an argument to say that maybe it was on reaction to hero pools, saying like, oh, well, we're not really stylized to fit this, so why don't we just try a couple of these weird things, try to play for the long game? Sure, I mean, that can work. And again, playoffs are completely off hero pools, so maybe we see a brand new NYXL. Maybe this is in the ether. They have this in their master plan. But every season, it feels like we talk about the sandbag. Every season, we talk about, the master plan of the long game of the NYXL. And if third, fourth, fifth place is your goal, and again, very commendable, strong goals.
I'm not sure like we should think of this sandbag strategy as sophisticated as it is. If you're burned out at some point, you just pull the parachute, right?
Totally. And again, I think that there's an NBA term that escapes me, but like load managing, I think it's called. Like again, something that we were, at least I was talking about going into this season in particular with the travel. I think it's probably well equipped to deal with hero pools as well because of the nonsense that it brings. But I don't know. NYXL seems like it just always has the same narrative, and it's just like, is this a projection or is this actually what's happening? Because pieces change and somehow it's always remaining the same. So I don't know if it's us. I don't know if it's actually them. It feels like it could be criticized.
Yeah. I love talking about NYXL as much as the next guy. I really do. But I do want to discuss one of the, I think, one of the bigger matches this week, and that was the Seoul Dynasty versus the Shanghai Dragons, and did not it pulled a Philly Atlanta on us. I think a little bit. We were expecting something close. And Seoul, though, did not show up in this one. Shanghai wins 3-0. Yiska. I can't remember how we all sided. I think we all sided on Shanghai here.
Right? Yeah, it took some convincing. I think we kind of had a big powwow about it, but I wanted to say Seoul. My heart said Seoul, but I ultimately said Shanghai as well. I think that there's a lot going into this. There's just more evidence to support that Shanghai was going to win. I thought it was going to be much closer, though. I'll tell you that. I thought this was supposed to be a good game.
Yeah.
Not a good game. Bad game. Not good. Talk about a team that was prepared, though.
Yeah. I mean, it
Shanghai
started pretty well. And I remember feeling pretty good about it on map 1 at some parts. Like Fitz was doing well. Lip was doing well.
Right.
I was like, these guys with pretty similar narratives coming into the season, just like, you hear from scrims, oh, these guys are nuts, they do absurd shit like all the time. It's insane. People are really underrating these players. And I mean, we saw, for Fitz, we saw some glimpses of that. But for Lip, I feel like he arrived in that prophesized level that we heard about from these coaches. And it's like the coaches that were scrimming in Korea in the preseason, everyone has a Lip story where it's just like, this kid either thinks about the game in a nuts way, has nuts mechanics, is so versatile, and he showed pretty much all of that. Like stats wise, it was also insane, right? Like what he pulled during some of those maps. And I remember we were sitting in voice, and it's like, yeah, it felt like if there was going to be a 3-0, it was definitely going to be Shanghai. Just like from the run up to this, also just there were definitely rumors in NA, like scrim rumors. Seoul aren't doing that hot. Like people saying that they're the best team. Like either that's not true, or they're playing very significantly or performing significantly different in scrims than they're doing in live matches. Which is the thing, by the way. That said, though, by the way, like honestly, I feel like Scrimbucks on through this hero pool stuff. And if you have any idea how these comps play into each other, actually gain some value, dude. Like if you know what everyone's scrimming and what the bubbles are and who's beating who,
right?
I feel like I won't get many matches wrong this season, dude. Like I got maps wrong. I was 10 for 10. And
yeah, I think it's because you have to take scrims super seriously because you don't have a ton of time to like really test and try out. So it is almost like an official, I would imagine. I'm not participating in scrims. I don't watch scrims. I don't hear about scrims. But I would imagine because of the slow turnaround, you don't really get to try and test and plan and try specific, differences, or like, oh, we're going to speed here instead of, around this corner, or we're going to use this ability here. It's more just very general, like trying to understand the lay of the land before you get to test things out. And you're only going to be able to do that by actually like trying, like you're trying to win the scrim, right? And I think maybe I don't want to speak for you, but winning the scrim previously in most esports, not necessarily what you were aiming to do. It's practicing and trying to file out the general idea and testing that idea. Whereas now in hero pools, you might test compositions, you might test, certain players on certain heroes, but it's less set plays and more just general concepts. Is that kind of make sense? Would you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, I thought it was going to work this way generally. Like I thought coaching would eventually always, like, the less time you have, the more it would move to like just teaching general heuristics,
you're saying
like you see X and Y happens.
So you're saying that travel was going to give you that?
Yeah, for instance.
Okay, sure.
And then it turned for me, especially like what people were saying, like you can't, like this idea of just coaching fundamental Overwatch and everything falls into place because your players are all giga-brained and are hacked into the game's mainframe and just understand all the values, was always going to be like a ridiculous notion to work from. But I think there's some merit now to saying, okay, some teams are definitely better at just like either very late into the week finding out what works and then being in, like the upset potential went down in that regard.
Right.
So for instance, you hear Shock say, oh yeah, we actually learned of Sigma Reinhardt on Saturday. And then they just run that on Sunday or whatever, or Friday or then Saturday. That I didn't expect that to be a thing, though you could argue that maybe that's just also that the fact that it worked is maybe also down to the Valiant's level of play. I don't know. But
I think it's column A, column B there. I think it's Shock is a great team. I think Valiant, is struggling a little bit, obviously with COVID dropping coaches and whatnot. But I think to your point, good teams are going to be able to identify those really, really strong compositions. Maybe they just have the wrong read and they've seen the light, or they've,
I think it's also just because we're rotating archetypes so much at the moment.
Sure.
It's like, I feel like Saturday saw such a variety actually of just like all kinds of weird stuff, especially first matches. Like, for instance, like of course the famous Twitter feud of 2020 between Dream and Jacob Wolf with the pick rates that Captain Planet posted then. Like that, like I was, when I was talking to teams, and of course, like I'm also writing the article, I don't want to give pocket strats away. What I heard was vanilla, as in like May McCree was going to be played a lot, and it was actually also going to be played a lot in the Asian region. And they then maybe I forgot when I got that info, because like your info can be very old if you ask on Wednesday and it's Saturday and then someone found something out, right?
Totally.
So yeah, I think like just having that stock composition also helps a lot in just like having transitional properties where you just like recycle certain rollouts or strategies or pathings, rotations, to a degree. I'm not sure yet how valuable all of that is, and if we like can stay in the proximity of these compositions where it's like maybe we're not reinventing the wheel every week to a lot. And it's that's not an ultimate argument, it's an argument of degrees of that being the case, right?
Sure.
Of like a spectrum of how true that is. And honestly, like, of course, like for everyone involved, it's a better thing when you don't need to learn every single thing again and again every week. And there are pre-established things. It could also very much be that there's social inertia where teams are just like, dude, I can physically not come up and just like race these strategies every single time. We can physically not practice that much in order to always find the absolute best. And we gotta go back to the things that we know and like just like chill for a while. Also, of course, like for instance, interesting that teams that took breaks, some minor breaks, actually didn't do that badly.
No, I think it's probably for the best, like to try and keep morale as high as possible right now. obviously you need to practice, need to, refine your skill and whatnot. But this season in general, even with travel, even with hero pools, it was going to be tough on the mentals. So just trying to maintain that as much as possible, I think was always going to, benefit you in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yep. All right, dudes. I think it's time. Good show, though.
Yep.
Lots of good stuff to talk about
Good
today.
times.
Before we do get out of here, though, we do need to thank our video editor, Blue, for putting together all the clips. It was really great having some B-roll. I have to look at optimizing how we're recording in the future, but it felt really great to have something there to watch. I almost got distracted from listening to Joe and Yiska.
It distract me some. Like, if you guys noticed, I looked at that monitor more this episode than this one. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But it is because it's a great
that
addition.
Was a sick play. Yeah, it was really nice to have. So, big thank you to everybody who hung out. So many people came out to watch this episode, and it really helps us a ton. Again, we're so close to getting partner, or at least being able to apply for partner. We just need to get the 75 concurrents. So anytime you see the show go live, if you can come, hang out, lurk, whatever, means a ton to us. So thank you so much to do that. Do need to thank our patron producers: Battle Crab Pin, Lolshin, Charlie L, Audio Compass, Pork Chop, Sammy, Cautious 67, Coochie Kopi, Salsa Boy 91, Shara Picasso, Naftali, and Your Misery. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We appreciate you a ton. And Yiska, I think we've got some new patrons this week, don't we?
We do. Thank you, Matthew O. and Your Misery. And that's not to say that we thank Matthew O's Misery. That's just the second name that's on this list. And I opted to read them after another for comedic effect. And now I'm explaining this joke in a very German way in order to make it as awkward as possible. And I might fall into a German accent.
We love you, though.
I might be Chengdu Bob, but that was pretty bad, dog. Not gonna lie.
We love you. We love you. Your Misery is in the
Misery.
chat right now. Says they appreciate it. So
I'm not grimacing at your support of us. I'm grimacing at our German terrible humor.
I love that I made everyone so mad. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yikes. Eric did make a good point in chat that I am the 3-time game night champ from Friday. We did have our patron game night.
It's true.
And had to stunt on these fools because Jackbox games are the only things I'm good at, I guess, these days. Suck at Valorant, suck at Overwatch, suck at everything else, but put me in some Jackbox games and we're gonna go. All right. Anyways, other than that, yes, again, if you want to support the show, now's a really great time. Patreon.com/tactical_crouch. Otherwise, you can also support right here on this channel, twitch.tv/KickedTripod. You can sub for free with Amazon Prime. Use your Twitch, tie it to your Twitch account, and you can use Twitch Prime. You get a free sub every month, and we appreciate that a ton. And if you can't support monetarily, we totally understand. If you go to iTunes, you can leave a 5-star iTunes review, leave a little message, and we'll thank you on the show. No new 5-star iTunes reviews this week. All right, Joe, shout outs for the week, and where can people find you?
Can find me on all the socials at Volamel. That's VOLAMEL. Just posted a kind of thought dump on the May Madness tournament. Again, I really hope we brand this tournament and we give it a name. I think May Madness is obviously the go-to. I think the league, teased that. I don't think they're gonna run with it. Well, I hope they do, but I don't think that's like the name working behind the scenes. So that's out there, very positive, super excited to see what that brings. Very bullish on it. Very, very excited to see that. Going to be writing some analysis on some interesting strategies in Valorant for GG Recon, and possibly an interview coming in that same space for Esports 7. Obviously the other piece in general being on Esports 7 as well, but stay tuned for some Overwatch and Valorant content on GG Recon as a sister, another byline.
Nice. Yiska, what about you? Shout outs for the week real quick, and where can we find you?
As always, my Twitter at Yiska out. I'll have more Overwatch content. I think there's a lot to say at the moment. Also, I think there's maybe we can rally some people. Maybe we gotta talk about like just honoring the legacy of some. We'll see. I don't want to give too much away, but that's always good things to tackle, right?
Yeah, that's great. Sorry.
That was. Can you imagine this man holding an angle, your angle in Valorant, and he's just like,
"Listen here, you, shut it."
Sorry.
It's true. We tried to play Valorant with Yiska on NA.
I was hoping to get through this without bringing that up.
After we all got pretty hammered for the game night, and it was not pretty at all.
How you let a man on like 160 ping, like a gallon of wine in, top fragged.
It was really funny. Oh God, man, it was
an old man, no less.
Yeah,
a very old man.
Cataracts forming.
He only had one bottle of wine from a pitcher. Like that's not much. Like if I were unhindered, I would have top fragged for sure. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I did have one last thing. Oh yeah, for me, you can find me everywhere at KickedTripod, and actually pretty cool. I'm actually going to be hosting the Valhalla Invitational powered by Coil this the next 4 weekends. Avril and Blank, casters in the Overwatch scene. Of course, Avril recently doing Contenders, and the other thing that we just did that I forgot the name of, and then Banks and Mitchman from CSGO is where they're at, so that's pretty cool. And then Medalla is going to be with me on the desk, as well as they just added Ryan Central as well. So it's going to be pretty cool. So come tune in this weekend if you're into kind of Valorant esports. Other than that, that's going to do it for us. Big thank you to everybody for hanging out. Hope you had a ton of fun. We'll be back after the music for the post show. Bye.